started, raise your hand in the chat function or use the raise your hand function. I'll call on you guys for questions. We'll start with Rick Russo and then go to John Wilkerson.
Thanks, Sean. Hey, good morning, Tony.
Morning to you.
So you hear the stat, this first time since 1970 that Tennessee has won its first 4 SEC series. Coach, what does that mean to you and to the players when you hear something like that?
Yeah, I think it puts it in perspective what you want to do each year, and in order to have the type of success we want, which, as it's posted on our wall out there, as far as what you need to do is you need to win as many series as possible. And if you can win a whole bunch, you can not only do what you want to do, but maybe even greater. But we're not even to the halfway point yet. This will be kind of the halftime on Monday of our SEC schedule. So at this point, since we have won, 4 series already, we've put ourselves in a good position where, in my opinion, you actually can simplify and just start thinking stack as many SEC wins as possible. So grab them anywhere you can with these remaining 18 games, if I have that right, and we'll be in a good position at the end of the year.
You guys are 2 of the 3 teams that are tied for first in the Southeastern Conference. You share the Eastern Division lead. Just give me your thoughts, if you would, on Vanderbilt, what you see as their strengths, and also self-scout the Volunteers. How do you feel your team is going into this matchup?
Well, I think our team is stronger, having survived our trip to Western Carolina. It came with a lot of different challenges, but we had a lot of different contributors, including getting Jackson Greer back in the fold, who, in my opinion, is maybe the strongest SEC number 2 catcher in the league. Kyle Booker with another great performance and a spot start, sometimes off the bench for us. Sean Hunley certainly should have regained some confidence, in my opinion. I know Sunday didn't go the way he wanted, but he forged through some tough circumstances down there, and we wouldn't have won the game without him. And we were able to get a bunch of guys back out there, that hadn't pitched in a while. So just overall, I think we're in a stronger, better place than we were on Tuesday. I mean, a guy like Max Ferguson is starting to just play baseball, and you see the results there. So if we can just get our whole group to just play and get everybody that's capable of being healthy, like a Rackers who pitched, on Tuesday, and like Jackson Greer, then I think we can continue to improve. And, again, the 1970 thing is great, but our season is so rapid in repetitions, you don't, really have time to reflect on that stuff until the season is over. So, if we're playing our best ball, we can win more games than we've already won, I guess is the general synopsis. And then as far as Vanderbilt goes, it all starts with their number 1 starter. Rocker will take the mound and lead the way, and arguably a guy who's just as good, or however people stack those 2 guys up. I haven't got to Saturday's reports yet, but some pretty special arms that are complemented by a lot of well-rounded baseball players for their team. Guys that play good defense, can steal bases, and are fully capable with the bat.
We'll go to Mike Wilson next, and then Ben.
Yeah, Tony, where does this stack up for you in terms of an important regular season series throughout your coaching career?
That's a tough one. Now you got me reflecting. I know which ones were either really fun or really tough to take after. And that Max Scherzer, Jabba Chamberlain matchup was incredible. So there's a lot that come with hype prior to, but until the story's written, you can't really decide what you think of the book or the movie, so to speak. So I think for us, it truly is the most important one, because it's the next one. Last week was the most important, but now this one is getting us closer to May, where we want to play our best ball. But it is a divisional opponent. It is the biggest series of the year because it's the next one, and it's the last one as far as, COVID times tell. You never know when one's going to go away. So that really is the perspective I've had on it. And I kind of get the vibe from practice yesterday that it's kind of the same deal for them. If you put one of these on too much of a pedestal, in our league, it'll overwhelm you. And if you put one down below that, well, it's not a divisional opponent, or it's not this, or their record's not as good, then you're going to get beat. And I think one thing our guys have learned in our time here is this league is very harsh. And if you get too excited about an accomplishment or an opportunity, again, it'll swallow you up. And if you take something too hard, like even just one at bat, I mean, there's pitchers in this league that can absolutely undress you. And if you take one at bat too hard on yourself, or take it too close to the core of your soul, the league will beat you up, and you won't be heard from again as an individual, or maybe even your team.
Tony, what's your level of concern with the pitching staff, if you have any concern at all outside of your starters? There's some reliable arms back there that maybe haven't been as crisp of late, and I imagine Frank wasn't too happy with the performance on Tuesday night.
Yeah, well, really, this thing goes in cycles. I know it's 56 games, which is smaller than the major league sample you get. But for college kids, it's a lot of ball, and it's a long year. And so there's a lot of different things that happen. You're never going to have all 9 guys firing on all cylinders in your lineup. You're never going to have everybody healthy. You're never going to have your starting rotation set the whole year through, or this guy's this role without changes. So as we go through the year, you see new changes. As a fan or a media member, you might get excited about, well, now this guy's doing this, he wasn't before, or you might be disappointed. This guy used to do this and he's not. Well, it all kind of fluctuates up and down. And the one theme that stays consistent with this group, and I can say this because it's a group that has some talent. So fortunately, our problems are, we've got just as many as anyone in our league, but they're not massive. The one main one is guys being true to who they are. And sometimes guys do well and think they need to do, even greater than that. And they start getting in their laboratory and coming up with this master plan. Or other guys overthink things and they don't do as well as they can because, they're so locked up in their own thoughts that it's almost like driving their car with the emergency brake on. So if we can get everybody on our roster healthy and just being who they are, we'll have success. And I think right now you could pick offensive members or pitching members and say they're trying to be somebody they're not. As far as Western Carolina goes, it's funny, Coach Anderson and I had a long talk in this office, and he actually was really happy with how a lot of pitching things went. I don't think anyone was happy with how the game started. I think there was a sense of uncertainty for some of the guys that hadn't pitched in a while, and we wanted to see some presence. Obviously, it's tough to go out there, just once a week or every now and then, or only get to face a few hitters and really settle in or be comfortable. But that's better than not pitching, is getting out there and getting an opportunity. So if you get it, you need to have some presence to you, and you need to put your fear, if there are any fears, in your back pocket. And I think early in the game, that would be the one thing that all of our coaching staff was a little disappointed in. But I think some of the things that happened over the course of the game, even a guy like Housley who got hit, he threw strikes, he threw with confidence, he had some presence. Hundley's box score wasn't what you wanted, but if you were in that park, Sean Hundley was the MVP of the day. So like anything, there was negatives and positives, but I think we're a much stronger team from the last 4 or 5 games being played by our guys.
All right, we'll go to Ryan next and then Gustavo.
I'm curious to get your perspective. When you see a team that's been as dominant as Vanderbilt struggle the week before you, is there a sense of, oh, these guys are human, or is it a sense of, we got to be ready, we're going to get their best shot this weekend?
Yeah, again, I wish I had, I wish I was an important person and got the copy of the movie before it was even released. The end of the weekend will kind of tell you that, and we don't have any control over, Georgia causing this or that. It's the nature of the league. There's interesting timing that goes on with each opponent in the 10 weeks and when you travel and when you don't. And so the bottom line is we're at home this weekend, which we feel is an advantage for us. And we're playing a team that when they're at their best, they're as good as anybody in the country. But at the same time, it is a sport of baseball, and to be flawless throughout 9 innings, no matter who you are, is very, very challenging. It's been done and can be done, but I think our guys know that anybody's capable of beating us, and anyone is capable of being beat by us. And we'll just show up and work at our workplace and hope that we get better each day, kind of like we got better on Tuesday.
Tony, big series. A lot of people in Knoxville saying one of the biggest series in program history, and you guys haven't won a series versus Vandy since 2016. How big is this moment for you guys? How big? Have you talked to your players about the expectations coming to the series this weekend?
I don't think it's a climb a mountain and plant a flag big or anything like that, or I guess Baker Mayfield sticking a flag in the middle of the field or anything like that. I think it's a next step along the way of us wanting to get better. And other programs have different tradition than us. And to say it's better or worse is hard to judge. It's just different. We're University of Tennessee. It's been a very proud program in all sports at different times here. And the current path that we're on right now is one that when we got here, we were bitter. We won 29 games instead of 30. The obvious thing we needed to do was get to a regional. That group made it to a regional in 19, but was very bitter. They didn't play their best and were hungry to get back to one and show that they could do better in the postseason. And that opportunity was kind of robbed from us in a certain way. And so now this group kind of wanted to pick up where that left off, but they've started to write their own script. And this team is very unique. They've created their own kind of personal or team image, I'd say even without much help from the coaches. And it's been fun to watch them. But I think ultimately their goal is to keep progressing so that maybe one other thing gets done at the stadium, or, we achieve this one thing that hasn't been done in a few years. Call it trailblazing or whatever you want. So this is the next step or next opportunity in doing something special for the program. But I don't sense from the guys, I'm just speaking for them, that it's something that's, abnormally different from what last weekend was, or going to Tuscaloosa and having an opportunity to win on the road.
All right, guys, we'll take a few more. We'll go back to Mike and then back to John.
Yeah, Tony, you just kind of mentioned it, but how does a team get that mentality that a series like this isn't any different from the previous one, and kind of keep it all level when, to an extent, there's been a limited amount of success to this point in most of those guys' careers?
Right. Well, I think they've adopted the philosophy that everybody's a rivalry in your league. And I think every program would say that about our team when they play us, whether it's hosting us or coming here. If you have any success, you kind of start to have some stereotypes or kind of some identities or ideals in your program that are known by others. And so you know who you are, you know who the enemy is, and then you have a rival, kind of a rivalry for 3 or 4 days when that team shows up or we show up to their park. And Vanderbilt's in our division, and in our state too. And our guys know some of their players from either summer ball or high school baseball stuff. So just like every weekend, it'll be a big deal. There's no doubt about it. But I think it's with the understanding that in our league, everybody's your rivalry. It's just there's a little different flavor to each one of those. And it's amazing how in a short time here, I think the players like Will Heflin and Evan Russell, if you bring up a team that we're playing, they would probably say 3 or 4 things that team they know they do well, and kind of what the environment will be like when we're playing that team.
As you manage the team from one weekend to the next, what do you value when you're putting your lineup together? You have peaks and valleys, a lot of baseball to be played, but if a guy's not going well, when do you think about perhaps moving him up or down in the lineup? And if somebody starts to get hot, when do you decide, okay, this is where we'll take him from this spot in the lineup and move him up to this one?
Yeah, I need to get older, so I know that magic formula. I really don't have it, but I think you kind of go with your instincts a little bit. Again, know thyself is incredibly crucial in all things, but you also cannot ignore the fact that the opponent is always going to dictate some things for you too. So sometimes there might be a matchup there that sticks out that you think, hey, it makes sense for this guy to have maybe one extra crack at this pitcher or one less. And then two, we see some things that not everybody else does. I mean, I love just as much as anybody watching a game on the TV and saying, why the heck are you running the ball right there? Why would you give the ball to that guy? Other than the Seahawks not giving the ball to Marshawn, I think it's tough to be too critical when you're sitting on a couch, because you're on the couch and you weren't at practice. You maybe don't know things that are going on in the training room or how a guy swung it, or we kind of pay attention to our guys' thoughts, verbally, what they say or their presence, and all that goes into that. And we just try and make educated decisions, but it's certainly no exact science.
Mike, did you have a follow-up?
I did. Yeah, I'm curious, Tony. You said that teams know stereotypes and identities about a program. What do you think other programs see as the stereotypes and identities of your program?
Probably that Drew Gilbert's a crazy man. And, they think he probably needs to be locked up, but he doesn't. He's about as sweet of a kid as you can imagine out of uniform. But I think when we came here, with Arkansas, when I was an assistant coach there, we played Tennessee and there wasn't as many things that stuck out. So I don't know what they are, but I can tell you in the interview process, it just didn't click. And obviously Coach Serrano's probably doing that with Northridge right now. And he certainly did it at Fullerton, but it just didn't click to where you would point to, these are these guys' strengths every year, or this is their style of ball. It hadn't quite, meshed into that. And so the one goal we had, and I even kind of said it in the interviewing process for the job, is whether it's good or bad, by the end of a few years, we will have a certain brand name to Tennessee Vol baseball. And, hopefully teams think that we play hard and play it the right way. And of course we want to throw strikes and play defense. So those are things that are talked about in recruiting and practice, but it also is very difficult to say, we always use Long Beach State as an example. They took on the name the Dirtbags. Well, you dang sure better play like a dirtbag, the things that go with that, if that's your actual label, because if you don't, the label doesn't mean anything. So it's nice to put sayings in a building or come up with, this is our philosophy, or this is what we want to be known as. But really it's kind of partially up to the coaches to influence the culture that way. And then we're outnumbered. There's a lot more players than coaches. So it's kind of on their shoulders, and whatever it is, or whatever other people would say, it's really fun to come to work every day with these guys. And it's one that I'm proud to be a part of how they compete. But there's certainly ways they can get better, and it could go away. I mean, you need to compete every day. You need to earn it every day if you want to do something special. And so we'll keep our thumb on them to do that.
Last question will go to Ben.
Tony, you talked on Sunday about reaching that point in the season where you kind of want to hand the keys to the team and let them lead the way. What does that look like, and why is it important to reach that point in the season?
I think you get to a point where you run out of practice days. Honestly, I'm just kind of spitballing. You get to a point too where it's 90, 95 out. You don't want to wear your guys out any more than game day does. By then you've probably met on a lot of different topics, or you've made some mistakes, and you've this game you never quite figure out 100%, but maybe you've hashed out some areas. So I feel like if we're earning our salary up here in the office, we've covered or checked a lot of boxes by the time we get to May. And also the competition is fierce. The weather is a grind. The guys are more experienced and more comfortable in that particular setting now that we're deeper into the season. So it's time to just play ball. And I don't think we're anywhere near that part yet. I mean, we met in the dugout yesterday for probably longer than we've met in a while, just because that game Tuesday was crazy and we had a bunch of examples to talk about. And rather than do it there after a 4-hour game, we did it here. But a lot of those things would be repetitive if we brought them up in May. So I feel like there's a filtering down process to where playoff game number one. It's here's your opponent. They're really good. You're really good. Go get them.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.